Another terrible tragedy caused by a natural disaster that adversely affected various communities in eThekwini, Lembe, Uku, and King Cetshwayo municipalities. At that time, we were still recovering from an unprecedented disaster that claimed the lives of 13 congregants who passed away tragically near Mpangeni when a portion of their church building collapsed on them in the midst of a violent storm, as well as that of a motor vehicle that killed 5 people, also in the same King Cetshwayo district. As we were attempting to come to terms with these various terrible developments, we were struck with another devastating blow, namely a ferocious storm with its epicenter along the coastal areas of KwaZulu-Natal. Mother Nature unleashed her wrath again when catastrophic floods cut a swath of destruction in these regions, wreaking havoc in eThekwini and the neighboring coastal areas of Uku, Ilembe, and King Cetshwayo districts. While the full scale of the devastation to lives and properties caused by the flooding and mudslides continues to be assessed, the Provincial Executive Council convened a special meeting on Friday, 26 April 2019, where we received reports on the impact of this latest disaster from both the MEC for Kokta as well as the Mayor of eThekwini municipality. Other mayors, especially of Uku district, have been invited but were unable to attend. Before I commence, it is important that I give you the latest update as I have been briefed by our line function department of Kokta, which is coordinating our response plans. The death toll at this point is 70, as yesterday one more body of a young male was recovered in Echelimnyama near Maran Hill. A total of 64 of those who passed away are from the eThekwini Metro and 6 are from the Uku district. A total of 1,469 people found themselves displaced by the floods and had to be provided with temporary accommodation in community halls and by their neighbors and relatives. Over 50 people were injured and had to be treated in hospital. We continue to search for the 2 citizens that are still missing. Our search and rescue is still continuing in this regard. It was indeed hard to believe what we saw as we observed houses and walls collapsing amid mudslides, killing some people instantly. We again express our sincere and heartfelt condolences to the bereaved families for the huge loss of their loved ones. Our thoughts and prayers are with all the victims of this terrible disaster. This disaster also caused massive damage to infrastructure, both public and private, railways, roads, houses. Some of them full of furniture and personal possession were damaged and sometimes entirely destroyed. The estimated damage currently stands at 1.1 billion rand, with the damage in eThekwini alone estimated to find over 685 million rand. We have recorded a total of 235 damaged private homes in eThekwini, and this figure continues to rise as new homes are being added to the list. Many families have been rendered homeless. In addition to displacement, many people's lives were interrupted by power outages, the majority of which have now been attended to. Government continues to provide speedy responses. We have provided immediate humanitarian support in the form of food, blankets, mattresses, and other necessities. We have also received a lot of support from various NGOs and private sector institutions, which have partnered with government and volunteered their staff to distribute immediate help to the many of our citizens in their hour of need. We would specifically like to thank the thousands of volunteers who gathered on Durban beaches over the weekend to clear the plastic debris washed onto the sea by the storm. The eThekwini Metro has also set up a dedicated support desk at the eThekwini Disaster Management Center for all the bereaved families. The desk includes a hotline, the details of which are in the statement. They are 031 367 0094. 3 mortuaries, namely Gale Street, Pinetown and Phoenix, have stationed dedicated staff to assist the bereaved families. A task team has been appointed to coordinate all the support, including the burials. We want to once again request the next of kin of all the deceased to visit the mortuaries for identification processes so that there are no delays from the government side that will impact on the funeral dates. I'm advised, though, that this process is going well under the watchful eye of the Health Department led by MEC Sibongiseni Dlomo. Department of Home Affairs has committed to fast-track the issuing of IDs and other relevant documents to all affected family victims. However, strict scrutiny will occur to avoid any possible fraudulent activities. SASSA and the Department of Education are also supporting the victims, including by ensuring that children get uniforms to go to school. As you can see, the government is doing everything necessary to provide urgent assistance to the victims and affected families. Provincial Executive Council has also resolved to assist all the families with resources to bury their loved ones. We have also taken the following decisions. The KwaZulu-Natal Cabinet, at its specially convened meeting, resolved to seek for the classification of the provincial state of disaster. We have requested the national government to invoke Section 41 of the Disaster Management Act number 57, because the province alone cannot cope with these incidents. Provincial Executive Council has also resolved that relevant stakeholders must ensure that infrastructure that will be utilized for the upcoming elections is restored to normalcy without further delays. The National Disaster Management Center has also been requested to support the KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Disaster Management Center to apply for any emergency funding opportunity that may be readily available given the magnitude of the disaster. Also, as a mark of respect to honor our fallen compatriots, the Provincial Executive Council has resolved to declare Thursday, the 3rd of May 2019, as the Provincial Day of Prayer, Mourning and Memorial Service to show solidarity with the bereaved families and to pray for those who have passed away, as well as for an end to these tragedies in our province. The Provincial Executive Council has also resolved that in order to ensure uniformity and for the ease of accountability, a single provincial account will be established. COGTA and the Provincial Treasury will be our lead departments. We invite all citizens, interfaith formations, and all sectors of society to participate in this important day of prayer and mourning. The main event will take place at Caris Fountain Sports Field this coming Thursday from 9 a.m. More details will be announced in due course. As if what we are going through is not enough, yesterday we received the shocking news of a bus accident which overturned in KwaXeza while ferrying mourners to one of the mass funerals that was held yesterday. We wish to add our voice on behalf of government to those who are affected, wishing them a speedy recovery, and to all the especially to those injured and affected by this latest accident. Indeed, We need prayers and the Almighty's intervention. At this stage, I'm informed that there are no reported deaths from this incident, and we pray that we do not lose any more lives. In fact, the addition is that we are told that only 2 now remain in hospital. It will be remiss of us if we do not comment on the concerning situation around the eThekwini municipality involving an illegal strike action by some municipal employees in the water department, which has resulted in an outcry and a huge inconvenience when some of the areas around the city are going without water whilst we are in the midst of this disaster. In the first place, the Provincial Executive Council condemns this practice in the strongest terms. Water is an essential service that cannot be used as a bargaining chip against the people. It is the view of the provincial government that this strike, when our province is in such a disaster situation, can be described in no other terms than totally immoral. During the struggle against apartheid, we used our muscle to strike, to fight the regime of the time, but we never at any time used essential services to cripple our own people. Water is life, as enshrined in our Bill of Rights, which says that all South Africans have a right to life. When people are facing the magnitude of such devastation as brought on by these floods, you decide to deny them water. Where is immorality there? Water is essential. This is simply, in our view, very immoral. We call on everyone involved in this practice to pause and think of the consequences of their actions for people who have already suffered enough. The eThekwini municipality has informed the provincial government of the processes to mitigate water crisis during the period of the strike. We therefore call upon all affected people to be patient whilst we all try to do our best to address this water crisis. We know it is a difficult situation that many residents are going through. We apologize and also thank them for the patience they have demonstrated during this difficult time. We have since appointed MEC for Public Works and Human Settlements, Honorable Ravi Pillay, to lead the team of government comprising of the Office of the Premier and COCTA to facilitate discussion and ensure a speedy resolution to this impasse. We wish to conclude by thanking in the first place the President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, who in light of this disaster and the scale of the devastation to the lives of our fellow citizens, decided to cut short a critical international mission and returned immediately to the country to support the collective response to this national tragedy. Also wish to thank the humanitarian agencies, the media, the national, provincial and local disaster emergency and response teams, the security agencies, medical personnel, and all members of the public who have shown exemplary acts of compassion and care to the victims and affected families in providing assistance and support, both moral as well as material. We ask our good Lord to grant comfort to the victims and their families at this time of grief, and may the souls of those departed fellow citizens rest in peace. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Premier. I think we are going to go straight to any questions of clarity. I will take the first round of hands. I note colleagues behind here. Any other hand? Is there any other hand? Member, colleagues on the middle. Kabir, in that order, in the things procedures, the procedure from our interpret yourself first.
From Mutual Africa. I just wanted to know if the officials are aware of any complaints from communities about how they feel that they've been failed by ward councillors who haven't been giving them information about where to go as a result of the disasters, because everywhere we go, whether it's Ichilimnyama or Marin Hill or even in Chatsworth, they're saying that they're hearing what you're saying on TV, etc., but in terms of the people on the ground who are supposed to be assisting them, they don't know which local hall to go to, or if they do go to a local hall, they haven't been assisted by any type of counsellor. So particularly with you, MEC, are you aware of this issue? How are you making sure that information gets to the right people? Secondly, there's also been many instances in these communities where it seems there's been a difficulty in consolidating everybody who was affected by the flood. So not just the dead toll, but people who've been affected because of the fact that they don't know where to go. So they're sleeping at neighbors' homes, they're sleeping wherever, out of the goodwill of citizens. So how are you going about ensuring that those who are affected also get the necessary help, given the fact that the National Treasury has also released funds for those people? Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Kabir. Simply over here.
Simply Makala, SABC News. I've been partly covered, but might perhaps to find out from the Premier if they have set out any time frames in terms of assisting those who have been displaced in accommodation for them.
I'm Kabir from News 24. I'm also partly covered with the questions my colleagues have asked. Maybe just to add, I just wanted to find out if there's any comment regarding the protest this morning around the Quarry Road area, where some of the communities are saying that they haven't been getting as much attention. That's in the Reservoir Hills area. The second one was, Premier said the damage went up to eThekwini alone to 1.1 billion. And on Friday there was a press release where it was at 650 million. If you guys could maybe just break down for us where the remainder of that came from over the weekend, or how that's broken down.
Okay, I see the one of colleague is inspired.
Yeah. Okay. Koskone Duma here, Eyewitness News. So, can I just please also find out if the provincial government will be assisting the families of those people who had their members perish as a result of the floods? And if that is the case, have you started communicating with these people?
Thank you. I think we will come for the second round with state outstanding questions. I will send over to the Mchunu.
Well, some of the questions relate mainly to issues that I'm sure can be answered much better by both Kokta and the Mayor. The issue, for instance, of informing people about the disaster. We have indicated to you a number just now, which has always been utilized, which will continue to be utilized. It's not a new number, it's an existing number of the Disaster Management Center. I would suggest that all those, if there is anywhere where this information has not reached the people, we do apologize, and we will have to just to sharpen our own processes to reach as much as everybody of the people. But I think we have also indicated to you that as we discover more people that are affected, especially in terms of housing needs, the figure keeps on rising, meaning it's easy, the devastation is very vast. But I'm sure MEC Dube and Mayor can comment about the role of councillors in doing all of that. But we also do have one other challenge that we do have with our communities is that we always set up systems as government. And our communities know about them because we talk about them all the time, but they don't utilize them. Everybody knows that we have war rooms. Everybody knows that in the war rooms, there are committees representing each and every ward. Every ward has a war room. No ward does not. If anybody would like to urge that anybody who feels that they have not been reached by a councillor, please, can they go to the war room as well? Can they talk to the ward committees? So our systems are functioning. Our systems are functioning. If they were to utilize properly, I'm sure we would all be able to satisfy one another in terms of information sharing. It's just a comment which does not mean that we are not apologetic where information has not reached people. That goes for the difficulty in consolidating collective help. It's that type of situation as well where we say we have teams that are working. We have teams that are working on the ground, which we think must be informed. Issue of time frames for re-accommodating people. Whilst we do not have specific days and hours, this is a very difficult task. But the Department of Human Settlement has been asked by the Executive Council, at the meeting of the Executive Council, they specifically insisted to the Department of Human Settlements that there are people who may not even be able to go back to their homes now. So that assessment and the prioritization, we said, must happen. In other words, as immediately as possible, things must be done as immediately as possible, but you can't say we'll do it tomorrow, we'll do it by next week for each individual. And remember as well, we're dealing with a massive task. We also are a government that has to work within budgeting, which all must be taken into account. But the prioritization is very clear from our point of view as the Executive Council that it has to be done and done very quickly. And the protest, as I have indicated, protest action, I'm sure Mayor would even know better if there is a protest action in Quarry Road or Reservoir Hills and what it is about. But communicating the issue of whether we will support people, as we ask you as the media, that's exactly what we are wanting. We are wanting people to know that government will assist, and we are wanting people to know that the Disaster Management Center is the coordinating center. That does not mean that for mortuary purposes people should not go straight to mortuaries. So we separate the two. For the purposes of identifying their next of kin, the mortuaries are the specific area to go to, but for purposes of help, the Disaster Management Center with the number that we have provided, and I'm sure as soon as we conclude here, you will also get a number. You will get the number so that you assist us to reach as many people as possible. I think I've taken care of that, but Mayor and MEC.
Yes, Honourable Premier, members of the media, thank you for the questions. The issue of time frames, probably, it's one of the important area that we are focusing on. Our main priority started last week was to ensure that all the people, family members that had people that deceased, are able to know where they are. And we ran media reports. I did listen to some of those media reports that were announced on a regular basis to say where they should go. But also to other family members that we visited. The whole of last week, we were still continuing with visiting individual families. And we communicated with them that the government will be supporting all the families that have been affected, particularly the deceased family members. Obviously, there are those that had to do the burials within the 24 hours, and those they have been done. But the ones that I have done the last weekend and the ones that are doing this week, the government continue to provide that support. We do have the issue about millions and billions. I think I might have seen the statement that was coming from eThekwini that was talking about millions, but here we're talking about the province-wide. And I think that's where we need to make distinction. That is why the Premier talks about coordination, because if we have different information coming from Ugu or eThekwini, and it tends to then confuse, we're talking a consolidated information from the provincial executive that received the report last week. And the assessment, obviously, it's still ongoing. It has not been completed. There are teams out there that are still dealing with the assessment because, as we indicated previously, there are hospitals, there are schools, there are community halls, there's a lot of other infrastructure, road bridges that were affected by these disaster and the floods. So the assessment still continues to can say exactly what is the cost of the damage to the infrastructure. And indeed, we did indicate as well that the assessment will then inform the President's availability of resources to the province, because you've got to be able to say, in this household, so many people have been affected and how they have been affected. Their house maybe was destroyed, they've lost their lives, they need to be relocated, there's no road access. So the support and the assessment has got to be comprehensive in that manner. That is why we have the teams that have been added to be able to assist with that assessment. But the preliminary reports that we have received, which includes Ugu, King Cetshwayo district and eThekwini, as the Premier indicated, will run into billions. The time frames, as the Premier has indicated as well, it's immediately. We are the team of engineers that are helping us, which also include the teams from eThekwini that have volunteered, but also the crack team from the province. What we have asked them to also do is to indicate, particularly when it comes to the housing, the structures, which structures need to be demolished, which ones can still be renovated, which ones are partially damaged, but also which one need to be relocated altogether, because there are areas where it will not be possible for people to remain in those houses or even to go back to where they were staying because of the structural damage. We have cautioned a number of community members who have been tempted to want to remain or continue staying in their houses while structurally the houses have been affected in one way or the other. That is where the team then is coming in to say so much houses, it might look like it's partially damaged, but if you are to fix that structure, it might not be possible to fix it. Maybe you need to demolish everything and start it from the scratch. Indeed, there are people who've also indicated it's true that they do not wish to stay in the temporary shelters such as the community halls and those areas, and they are staying with their relatives. What we have spoken about at the disaster management is that we appreciate a lot of support and help from individuals, from non-governmental organizations. However, we wish to request that there must be coordination for support. I know that even amongst yourselves as the members of the media, there has been a call for help. But we have requested that when you receive the help, we're not saying we will take it. You can check with us, just check with us where do you still need to get that help to, because we are now finding that there's a lot of duplication that is happening. There's also an oversupply and undersupply. There's no equitability of sharing of the resources that are being mobilized. Particularly, as I say, that there are people that are not in the community halls, but living with the neighbors, or maybe staying somewhere where they also don't have anything. They don't have clothes, they don't have food. But unless we coordinate to stay in those particular area, we know who is staying in which neighbor, so that everybody can then be supported equitably. So we are requesting that kind of coordination. For instance, we've had in other instances where we have oversupply of food, while actually we might be needing building material, we might be needing clothing, we might be needing this. So that's why this coordination is very important, so that all of us are able to support where the support is needed most. But also we are able to reach even those people that are not housed in the community halls. But also bearing in mind that other people that might not be in the community halls, maybe they go to work, but then for when they come for the evening, they sleep on the neighbors, or they sleep elsewhere, while they are being assisted with other possibilities of other shelters. So there are different kind of needs that need to be given to various community members. Indeed, there was an issue of councillors that did not have information. I think the mayor convened the executive committee of the council, and the information has been going out to councillors, so that councillors also know what is it that is happening in terms of help and the support that they need to give to communities. So the city is working with the various councillors. But I think the point that the Premier is making, that we have a Premier, we've also now activated the CCGs. CCGs, because there are a number of people that need medication. And we have asked that the CCGs have been brought in. The DSD teams have also been brought in terms of ensuring that, again, this differentiated support, because you have people with little babies that should not be mixed with, maybe adults or other people, because of the likelihood of young children with, low immune system that might get affected, with all types of environment that is there. So the teams are working really 24 hours. The Joint Operations Center is still operating. And in the Joint Operations Center, SANDF is also participating, SAPS is also participating, so as all other sector departments as well, and the Premier has stressed that it has to be at the level of the DG, HOD or DDGs, because we want people that are able to take decisions to come and sit in the Joint Operations Center, because it doesn't help to get people that are not decision makers to come to meetings and they are not, and they still need to report to the other of their superiors. The issue of perhaps other people who might be protesting, again, it's the issue that I'm trying to explain, that there are people who have been affected but they are not in community halls. And there is that issue where people are saying, oh, just because we're not in community halls, nobody thinks about us. All the support, everything is going to community halls. That's why we want to emphasize the issue of coordination, so that we can say the people in the community halls, they've had their meals, can we channel your help into that particular area? Can we channel this help into that area? Because it's not all the people that have been affected that are housed at the community halls. Others are in their houses, but their houses, maybe they've been partially damaged. You've held perhaps others also even starting to take plastic sheeting to try and cover their roofs, and those that fall under partially damaged, but they still need a lot of help and support in the form of food, in the form of clothing, and all other support that we are getting. And other than that, I think we are very grateful with the support that we are getting from the media houses, as well as all the individual community members out there who still continue to support their neighbors, to continue to support with all the distribution as well as the coordination of the help.
Okay, thanks, Premier. Greetings to everyone. Let me go straight to the issue of councillors, MEC and Premier. If we cite an example of Echeli Mnyama, fortunately the councillor there, who is Councillor Natango, has been very much active with the community and making sure that he is working with everyone. All the corners of eThekwini, because we are having 110 wards, and our councillors knows that we are having our disaster center, and they know the number that they can communicate with. We must remember that this was an extraordinary disaster where most of the people were affected. That's why I want to concur with the MEC to say that we've started with those that are in the community halls and those that are with the neighbors, but now we're going to be coming back to those who were affected by water getting to their houses, their things were damaged, and also food and everything. We said let us start with the most affected one and the fatalities that we have. The second one is the issue of all our MECs who are deployed at eThekwini, led by MEC Dubenqobe, have been working tirelessly with us, and MEC Wezithusi. On the western side, we are having our senior councillor, Councillor Mondli Mthembu, who is leading all the teams on the western region to make sure that all the corners are 101% being touched, because we are having a group of Abefundisi, our OSS, our EPWP, our war rooms, CCGs, CPF, safety forums, ward committees, all of them, but they are working under Councillor Mondli Mthembu. On the southern side, we are having Councillor Nelinyanisa and Councillor Zamazu Sokhabase. They are the ones who are leading the southern side, and their numbers are available. In our previous media briefing, we have given you those numbers. And in this northern central and central, we are having Councillor Foza Pierre and Councillor Sipho Kaunda. We have done that to make sure that it's much easier for our communities, because each councillor is leading about 49,000 or 39,000 people. So all of us, we need to join hands and assist. That's why we really appreciate what media is doing, because we are reaching everywhere because of you. And our minister at the national level have come on board to say that, Minister Shabangu, to say that we must have breakfast, which is porridge and bread and everything, And also during the day, we are having soup and bread. And in the evening, those committees who are in the committee halls and marquees, they are having full meal so that everything is in order. Prima, I just want to last talk about the strike that is taking place in Quarry, the illegal protest that is taking place. It's about land invasion, MEC. We've got information, and we are not allowing that as a city because we want our communities to be safe, because other facilities that we have is because some of our communities have built in the floodplain and in the hills where there are some crises. So it's because of that. That's what we have been told through our police, our security agencies. We want, as a city also, we want to add by thanking those team of engineers who have come forward with their services to volunteer, to add on our teams that we have as a government on the side of national, province and our local government sphere. We know that our teams at a city level are overstretched, and Mchunu, who's an engineer, a young chap, came on board to us as a city to say that here are the services. From yesterday, MEC and Prima, they've started working very hard, all of them. And the last one, I just want to urge those who are coming with assistance, we want also to appreciate, but also to urge them to use proper channels. They must make sure that they communicate with our disaster center for proper recording, and also for making sure that we share to different communities. That's why even the account is going to be led by the Premier, because we want to share whatever we're getting. We understand as a city we have a huge damage, but we need to be led to make sure that everything is properly done, and then we move together. And MEC and Premier, I want to appreciate on my side, on the side of officials, our city manager and chief operation officer and all senior officials. They are working at disaster center. Whatever they are doing, they are there to make sure that anything that needs to be done quickly, they are there to make sure that they support Vincent Ngubane, who is our head of disaster. Thank you.
Well, that's been the KZN government just giving us an update of the impact of those floods that have taken place in the last week or so. They estimate that the damage is about 1.1 billion rand, and of course about 70 people have since passed on.